last week we announced that tonight we were going to give away a live Shetland pony to some lucky member of our audience. You remember that, don't you? Then you'd better see a doctor. We didn't say a thing about it. 1, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Hans Conried here. Who there? Never mind. Well, once again, it's time for Fractured Flickers, or as it is known in the trade, down memory lane with axe and crowbar.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome aboard Fly-By-Night Airlines Deluxe Champagne and Movie Flight to lovely Fairbanks, Alaska. Or someplace like that. Just a little joke. This is your captain speaking, and I hope you enjoy the champagne today as much as we do here on the flight deck. Before the movie starts, your stewardess will be serving you with a fly-by-night cocktail, half gin and half Milltown. Note the movie screen at the forward end of the cabin and our projector, typical of Fly-By-Night's dependable, foolproof equipment. Now, if you make yourselves comfortable, it's showtime.
Since mankind first envisaged the conquest of the air, his progress has been a long succession of tiny victories over great adversities. Brave, pitiful man, he never gives up. Aeronautical engineers, despite the shakiness of their skills, despite the fact that all machines must and do fail occasionally, still fight bravely onward. Aircraft designers are admittedly willing to experiment with new and radical techniques, regardless of the odds against them.
Well, back to the old drawing board.
And, of course, throughout aviation history, pilots have calmly faced the multiple perils attendant upon every takeoff. Perils which are nothing compared to the dangers of landing.
Captain, this is the stewardess calling.
Raise you two, Fred. Yes, my dear. How's everything in the cabin section? Coming along, I hope.
Captain, this movie we're watching.
Oh, great idea, isn't it? Relaxes the passengers.
Yeah, that's just it. The passengers are behaving oddly. It's the movie. Unsuccessful things are happening to airplanes. It's awful.
Well, that's showbiz, doll.
Yeah, well, it may be showbiz to you, but the passengers are getting panicky.
Miss Finster, you're interrupting the pinochle game.
Sir, the passengers, they're getting up. They're unfastening their seatbelts. They're... Ow!
Look at that.
Oh.
Wow. Captain, does the plane seem to be getting lighter to you?
Shut up and deal.
It's long been a rule in the motion picture industry that every red American is crazy about college pictures. The story of the big game with all its athletic pageantry is a part of the current folklore. I said what? Of course I meant red-blooded American. Who? I'll be back with you, I hope, right after our collegiate caper, Cornell Goes Wild. FBI?
These are the hallowed halls of Scrooge University, the day before the big game.
As you can see, Scrooge University didn't spend much on hallowed halls, but their football team was the best that money could buy. Each fall, 300 Leviathans strained to make the varsity. But only one athlete was sure of a spot on the first team, young Jack Headstrong, the coach's favorite.
Jackie! Kitty! How about a little scrimmage, huh? Okay, fellas, Jack's gonna run us through the plays.
Unfortunately, young Jack couldn't run, pass, or block, and there was only one play he could even remember.
Okay, fellas, number 18A, the drop kick. 1, 2, 3, O'Leary. Let's try that again, shall we? 1, 2, 3, O'Leary.
Yes, for hours, Jack would make drop kick after drop kick.
I have to. It's my major.
That night, Scrooge University held its weekly Thanksgiving Day dance. There were the usual assortment of chickens and 1 or 2 turkeys. One of the latter was Jack's fiancée, Rosa Picardy.
Say, I've been looking all over for young Jack. Where is he?
Where is he ever? Look.
1, 2, 3, O'Leary.
Yes, Jack was now trying for the all-time consecutive drop kick record.
Forget him, doll. Let's just dance.
What, on Thanksgiving?
While Rosa kicked her heels, Jack kicked you-know-what.
1, 2, 3, O'Leary.
Then at 4 in the morning, the director of athletics, Miss Placement, ordered him to stop practicing drop kicks.
We're running out of footballs, Jack.
That's a nasty cold you got there, Miss Placement. Want to borrow my hanky?
Jack!
Don't touch me.
What is it?
Whizzikers. You want to, give me a bacteria or something? I might miss the big game. Anyway, you won't let me practice my drop kick. On second thought, use your own hanky.
Idiot giver.
No more practicing. Was Jack going to take this lying down? Well, yes, as a matter of fact, he was. 80,000 rabid fans jammed the stadium the next day, breathlessly awaiting the titanic struggle. By the way, that S doesn't stand for Scrooge. It stands for Sam, who owns the bass drum. And here's Jack leading Scrooge onto the field. Yay, Jack! J-E-R-K, Jack! Yay! And here's the Cornell team, which is usually high above Cayuga's waters.
Boo! Boo! Shame!
A pox on you chaps.
With no place left on the bench, Jack watched from the ground as Cornell kicked off. They were a tricky team, all right. Instead of kicking to their opponents, they kicked to one of their own men, who made a non-stop dash to the Scrooge goal line.
Hold it, fellas. I'm bushed.
Oh, fudge. Boo! Boo! Hey, stupid, what's the score?
Who knows? I dropped my glasses.
Actually, the score was 6-0. At the end of the third quarter, Scrooge hadn't even got possession of the ball yet. This was nothing new. No Scrooge team had had possession for the past 9 years. However, an 80-yard Cornell pass failed to make the first down, and the pall of gloom lifted slightly.
Yay!
Yay, Paul! The next play was a double reverse red dog end around end, or in the layman's language, a fumble. Could Scrooge battle back to win, or even to tie, or at least to call the game off? But it had been so long since the Scrooge team had had the ball, nobody knew what to do with it. This was the moment for which the young sophomore had been born.
Coach, you gotta let me drop kick. It's the only way out.
That's only 3 points.
So what?
We lose 6-3.
It's better than a shutout.
You're right. Get in there.
Could Jack do it?
No!
There was only time for 8 or 10 plays, and Jack didn't know that many. Into the huddle they went.
Right, like any suggestions, fellers?
How about a pass?
No, run.
Then it's settled. We'll try drop kick.
What a terrible time for young Jack to find out he had chewing gum on the bottom of his shoe. Undaunted, he took his position. Yes, unfortunately, he'd also forgotten the number of the play.
4, 6, 1, 2, 3, O'Leary.
Oh, fiddle! The young sophomore missed
two things that day. A chance to be a hero and a chance to get out of the stadium alive. Like Vesuvius, the fans erupted onto the field.
Kill him! Cut off his foot! Remove his varsity letter!
That was 50 years ago. Yet even today, as the shadows lengthen over the hallowed halls of Scrooge University, they say if you look hard, you may see a bent figure on the gridiron.
1, 2, 3, Leary.
Yes, it's old Jack Headstrong, still practicing the drop kick.
Why not? I'm still a sophomore. 7, 8, 9, O'Leary. 10, O'Leary. Postman.
We're most fortunate to have with us this evening for an interview one of the great child actors of motion pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, Spanky McFarlane. Spanky, welcome to Fractured Flickers.
Excuse me, but I'm not Spanky McFarlane. My name is Fabian.
Yay!
Isn't this the Dinky Mungo dance party?
I beg your pardon.
You look like Dinky Mungo.
We are mistaken for one another all the time.
I didn't mean any offense. Well, nice talking to you, sir. I'd better get over to Dinky Studio.
No, wait. If you leave, I won't have anybody to interview. You wouldn't do that to a fellow thespian, would you?
Not thespian, Fabian. But I really ought to get going. Dinky's expecting me.
Well, I'm sure he won't mind, young man, even if you are a little late. Anyway, I've got an idea that he's probably interviewing Spanky McFarlane right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is indeed Fabian. Yes, a phenomenally successful recording star and recently recipient of some very fine critical comments in straight acting roles.
Thank you, sir. What did you say the name of this show is?
Fractured Flickers.
What is it? Some kind of doctor show or something?
Very amusing. You've never seen our show, I think.
I've never even heard of it.
The innocent candor of youth. Well, let me give you a brief idea of how Fractured Flickers works, as they say. First, we take an old silent movie, and then we edit it down from its original length to a short version of our own.
I see.
And then we add our own funny dialogue, voices, sound effects.
Why?
And I'm beginning to wonder that myself.
What do you do on the show, sir?
Why do you keep calling me sir?
I call everybody over 60, sir.
I see. Well, in answer to your question, I'm the host of the show, boy.
Oh, what are you, one of those old-time movie stars or something?
Oh, don't you really remember me? I understudied Alfalfa in the Our Gang comedy.
Our Gang?
Yeah, there was sort of a Stone Age Mickey Mouse Club.
Mickey Mouse Club?
Oh, come on, you're not that young.
Well, I'm really pulling your leg, Mr. Conried. Actually, I've admired your work as an actor for years, and I've always thought of you as one of the master practitioners of the craft. I mean that sincerely.
Oh, thank you.
And really, I'm a real fan of your show, Fractured Flickers, right? I've always loved the old films and have some silence that have always been favorites of my own.
Oh, really? Such as?
Well, Gidget Goes Hawaiian, Bye Bye Birdie, and The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
You're sure you know what a silent picture is, huh?
I'm just kidding, of course. I want you to know it's been a real pleasure. Good night, Mr. Hans Conried. Thank you very much.
Have a good thing, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next Fractured Flicker will be played for Pam and Orville and all the gang at the Dinky Mungo dance party. Let's watch it, shall we?
Where was it I lost control of that interview? The Friendly Egg Institute of America reminds you that every morning you should dress, take a bath,
not necessarily in that order.
and have yourself an egg. Eggs are plentiful. You'll find them everywhere. And with today's ingenious cookware, they're easy to prepare, too. As soon as you get the gooey little rascals out of their shells. Modern women make eggs part of modern living, along with the handy disposal unit. And the wall-high cooker. And remember, this week only, listen for that special knock. That means the Egg Institute man is calling. You'll recognize him by the twinkle in his eye and his long purple beard. If you're cooking an egg, when he arrives, you'll get this personal greeting from the Egg Institute of America,
a beautiful bouquet of shiny poison oak, and help with your egg problem. So each morning, get dressed, take a bath,
Not necessarily in that order.
and try hard, won't you? Bend over backward. You start each day with an egg on your stomach, over easy, sunny side up, or scrambled.
Tonight we pay tribute to a hardy band of idealists, heavy, America's industrial scientists, men who have contributed so much to our way of life today, whose unremitting efforts have produced such scientific breakthroughs as whiskey-flavored toothpaste, triple filter cigarettes, and the rhinestone fly swatter. Now, our flicker was originally made as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, starring the great, late John Barrymore. But tonight, it's been fractured into a stirring saga of the soft drink industry, entitled, Do Me a Flavor.
This scholarly gentleman is the noted astrologer Albert K. Seltzer. Dr. Seltzer is trying to determine whether human life exists on the planet Jupiter.
Whee! Hot dogs!
By Jupiter, there are human being peoples out there.
You're nuts.
You think so, eh? Well, come here.
No. Coax me.
Very well. Pretty please with a cherry on top.
That's better. Now you are talking, Doc.
Look quick, you're holding up the plot.
Dariel. Jupiter, eh? Yahoo! I'll show them they're right, brothers. Good grief. It's my father, George.
Dr. Seltzer made his living by operating the Seltzer Laboratories, producers of world-famous Seltzer water made in 6 delicious flavors.
Oh, Doctor, that stuff really tickles my nose and it doesn't upset my stomach. Can I have another 40 gallons?
Do you want it to go?
Oh, yes, and bless you, Doctor.
See the receptionist. She'll put it in a sack for you.
Yes, Seltzer's water was good for everybody. Well, almost everybody. The good doctor had a kind word for all his patients, but in reality his mind was elsewhere. Not on Jupiter, but on a secret formula for a new seltzer flavor, one that will take the country by storm. Entering his laboratory, he couldn't help noticing the appearance of Madeleine Lafarge, his head chemist. She, too, had been working on the new formula. Never had he seen her look so pale, so wan, so pooped. To think that just last night she had looked like this.
That new flavor really leaves you with a head, doesn't it? Not a very good-looking head at that.
Oh, Doctor, it's terrible. That new stuff is poison. No, pure poison.
Later that evening, Dr. Seltzer met with Conrad Phosphate, the big soda pop tycoon. Phosphate would stoop to any height to get his hands on a new formula.
Tell me, Doctor, what do you call this new flavor?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Catchy name.
I like it. I'll offer you $50,000 a year to come make chocolate for me. I'll even throw in a few coffee breaks.
Seltzer liked what he heard, but he insisted on a tour of Phosphate's plant, located in the fashionable part of the slum section. Like any soda pop factory, this one maintained a staff of professional flavor tasters. Phosphate escorted his little group to the executive office. For instance, his head chemist, Dr. Imogen Cola, was at that moment stomping out some grapes. Elsa was impressed by the dedicated young scientist.
Imogen is developing a new drink called Grape Suzette.
Yes, Elsa was smitten by this wisp of a chemist with the black eyes and blue feet.
Hey, Doc, come here.
She was the bait for the trap.
Dr. Cola, this is Dr. Algaze Seltzer.
A pretty name. You not only walk and talk like a chemist, you smell like a chemist.
Funny, I don't feel like a chemist.
Yes, Phosphate had won a genius over to his wicked cause. Determined to impress Imogen, Seltzer picked up where Madeleine had left off, and in time developed a double chocolate seltzer. But a thought struck him.
Oh!
Suppose what happened to Madeline should happen to him. What would he look like the morning after? Was it too late to turn back? Or at least sideways?
Remember, 50,000 a year plus coffee breaks. All this and cola, too.
That did it. He would make the test.
Over the lips, over the gums. Look out, stomach, here it comes. Oh, man, that's good stuff. Wow. Oh, boy, smooth. Ooh.
A slight but noticeable change began to come over the good doctor. His breath came in short pants. Knickers, almost. The water on his knee began to boil. His hair oil changed to 30 weight.
Yummy.
Even his hands, usually soft and pretty from washing them in hydrochloric acid, became harsh and red. So this is what chocolate seltzer did to the human system. Dishpan hands.
What if I drank a bottle full of the stuff? Or put nuts in it and ate it like candy? Wowee!
He had to rush to Imogen to tell her of his taste triumph. Stopping only to don his tuxedo, Seltzer sped to the phosphate factory for a surprise visit.
Surprise!
Hello, Al.
Look, Imogen, baby, my new flavor has made me a new man.
The face I can take, but that hat's got to go.
Mr. Phosphate will be so proud.
I'd like to talk to you about that, handsome.
The wily Imogen decided they should do away with Conrad phosphate and keep the formula for themselves. Seltzer was all for it. In his condition, he was all for anything. Yes, the unfortunate doctor was now hooked on double chocolate seltzer.
Yes, for that tired Loki feeling, it's double chocolate seltzer every time. Gives you that wake up and live feeling. Puts you in that play the piano mood. Play, play, full play. Gives you that little extra lift.
At that moment, phosphate rang the bell.
Let's all sing the seltzer song. And 1, and 2, and double chocolate seltzer. Double good, you see.
That's terrible.
But what a beast! Double chocolate, best for you and me. Zoot!
His singing roused the neighbors, who summoned help. 8 hours later, it arrived in the form of Emmeline Gargley, girl inspector.
I'll take him alone. It's more dramatic. All right, Seltzer. Come out or I'm coming in.
So come in, come in. Ah, give me a break, Inspector. I was framed.
A face like that ought to be framed. You're under arrest, Al. Singing commercials without a license.
Can't we talk this over, Inspector? I can make it worth your while. How about a case of seltzer? Some free jiu-jitsu lessons.
Emmeline had already taken jiu-jitsu lessons.
Oh! Wowee, that's smart.
Feverish and overheated, the mad doctor collapsed.
We should have known. We should have known.
What should we have known?
Whenever a seltzer gets warm, it goes flat.
Remember, for gracious living, it's the Shady Grove Hotel. Come as you are. The folks at Shady Grove will give you a welcome you'll never forget. Yes, people keep coming back to Shady Grove.
Well, as Henry R. Luce wrote me just the other day, our time has run out.
1, 2.
Well, as they say at the United Parcel Service, that just about wraps it up. Until next week at this same time, this is Hans Conried saying good night. And in the words of Prince of Anafuma, Noshisamalo Kanedral. Translation, Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Hans Conried, the Ted Mack of Ulster Gulch. I was just reading about a lady in Ashtabula who contracted a rare tropical disease from the knob of a television set. So if you value your health, leave that knob alone. For the next half hour, anyway. For once again, it's time for Fractured Flickers, the typhoid Mary of television. And tonight's first piece of surgery was originally made in 1921 as a bullfight picture entitled Blood and Sand, and starred that, and I use the word advisedly, fabulous Rudolph Valentino. Tonight it has been changed to The Death of a Traveling Salesman.
In the competitive business system of today, much depends upon the initiative and drive of the individual, and most of all to the men who create the demand for our multiform goods and services. This, then, is a tribute to the traveling salesman, a special kind of guy, riding out in the blue with a smile on his lips, a shine on his shoes, and a hole in his head. This is the Willie Roman story. Willie Roman had been on the road for years. Every fashionable suburb knew his cheery face, his open-handed generosity. He was welcomed into typical American homes everywhere.
Hello, kids. It's me, your friendly full-of-bunk brush man.
I'll brush you, you no good Nick. $3.98 for a broom, and look at it.
Come, madam. A full-of-bunk broom beats as it sweeps as it cleans.
Who was to sweep? I bought it to ride.
I should have known. Why don't we talk this thing over, gorgeous? I'm pushing a little different line this trip, hon.
What are you selling?
Me?
You.
How's about it?
Some offer. 53 years I wait for Prince Charming, and who shows up? The king of the hobos.
We could make beautiful music together. With my looks and your money, we could...
What makes you think I have money?
Shh, I spotted it wrapped up in a sugar bowl.
But...
Oh, you stake me to a front. And not only do you get a fancy-looking young husband, but I'll double your money for you. What do you say?
Well, okay.
Great. First you give me $2 for a license and...
You look like a tramp.
Yeah, I'll need an Ivy League suit, elevator shoes. Who knows, I might start wearing socks.
Looks terrible.
So already. Mildred Doll, you've made a great deal. Easy, hon, you're sewing it to my leg.
After the marriage, not only did Willie get socks, he got someone to put them on.
That tickles.
But Willie was ever a perfectionist.
Mildred, I wanted natural shoulders.
For $49.50, you're lucky it has sleeves.
Yeah. Well, the pants are okay. Maybe just a little too Ivy.
Overcoming these obstacles, Willie Roman set out on his new career. He was going to sell insurance. Within 6 weeks, he had sold his first $1 million policy and rode home in triumph with his client, who was delighted with the protection he'd received.
If I ever get bit by a chicken on St. Swithin's Day, I'm rich.
Yay, Willie! Of course, Mildred was waiting with cheery words.
Where's the money?
I think I've spotted a live one.
See you around some year, hon.
One triumph wasn't enough for ambitious Willie Roman.
Hiya, kiddo. Give me some skin. What's shaking, baby?
Oh, Mr. Roman, I've heard so much about your three-way protection.
I'm booked solid right now, doll. How about 8 tonight?
Always eager to service a customer, Willie actually got there at 7:59.
Selma! Boy, do you need a policy. Fast.
I do?
I knew it as soon as I saw those raw red knuckles. You got it.
What?
What 4 out of 3 people have, kiddo. Look. Rhinestone heart. Calcification of the external costellonates. Your heart probably looks like that right now.
It's horrible.
Isn't it, though? No, keep it, sweetie. A souvenir.
For me?
Why not? We'll take the price out of your first premium.
Then I'm covered.
I'll backdate the policy. A deal?
Oh, yes.
I'll bring the policy in the morning.
Oh, Mr. Roman, how can I ever thank you?
Have a certified check ready.
Selma found her policy was good only while she was riding in a space capsule between the hours of 8 and 10 p.m.
Darn fine print.
From that day, there was no stopping Willie Roman.
Fire insurance on my saloon? Don't be a fool, Roman.
I'd think twice, Manny. It's awful easy to have an accident.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Maybe you're right, Willie.
You bet I'm right.
Of course, word of Willie's success reached the head office and the chief actuary, Lucullus Blanc.
4 million in commissions, 80 million in claims against the company, and 37 lost lawsuits.
Yes, the head office had plans for Willie Roman. Big plans. But Willie had plans of his own. One night at the local Playboy Club, he even bet he could sell a policy on the dance floor to the famous Spanish dancer, Lolita O'Brien.
Come on, baby, they're playing the policy polka. If you're a dancer and you got to beat, you ought to take insurance on your feet. Flamenco dancing gives you muscle strain, and tango dancing gives your heels a pain. But I've got a policy you should know for waltz and rumba and the G.O. Each corn and callus that the doctor clears means $12 a week for the next 10 years. Cha-cha-cha! Hooray! Hooray!
Alas for Lolita, right after she paid the premium, she had to give up Spanish dancing. She was allergic to roses. Now Willie's star was in the ascendant. Bonuses and commissions rolled in. He was the hit of every sales boosters convention.
Yay! Here, have a mint.
Yay! Eventually, the plucky salesman was worth as much as the company itself. At the head office, Lucullus Blanc was wondering about Willie's place in the organization. Like every good superior, he had several ideas of how the energetic young salesman might fit into various corporate niches. But finally, Blanc decided to take the problem direct to the company president, Ernest Heminghaw, the eccentric millionaire sportsman.
Now, what's all the hassle, Blanc?
Just this. If Roman sells one more big policy and there's a claim on it, the company's bankrupt. See?
Ooh.
Fearful of Willie's prowess, Heminghaw invited the young go-getter and his secretary to his luxurious dude ranch in the Catskills, merely in order to fire him. But he had reckoned without our hero's persuasive ability. For the next morning, dressed casually in tennis togs, Willie braced Heminghaw as he was about to go yak hunting.
Hey, boss, you ever figure the odds on somebody potting you for a grizzly?
What a knife.
Nonsense, Roman. That's why I carry this striped blazer.
If anything happened, just wanted to make sure you were covered.
Nice thought, Roman.
Sure enough, during lunch, Willie sold Heminghaw an $8 billion policy with his own company.
Let's see now. I collect if I'm hitting the right kidney with number 3 buckshot while watching a balloon race, right?
Right. But his biggest policy was to prove Willie's undoing. For the very next day, Heminghaw was watching a balloon race, the only match played in that area for 86 years. Ole! 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 Ole!
Ole! Well fanned, missy. Ole! Ole!
Hey, isn't that guy in the wrong seat?
You're right.
Embarrassed, Heminghaw tried to change seats. It was too late.
That tingles. Still, it's nice to know I'm covered.
Alas, that was the end of the company and of Willie's career. He went downhill fast. Frantically, he searched through the want ads, but nobody was advertising for vice presidents. Then at the next sales boosters meeting, an angry mob of underwriters ejected him bodily. Ivy League suit and all. Broken-hearted, Willie Roman was carried into his Skid Row apartment to breathe his last.
Don't feel too bad, Mr. Roman.
Feel bad, heck, I'm dying.
At least you leave Mildred well provided for.
What do you mean?
Your insurance.
Insurance? Who's insured?
As you watch our next flicker, A Tale of Horror, try, if you will, to conjure up a mental picture of the kind of people who prepare fractured flickers for you. Our producer, for instance. Is he really the Shreveport Strangler? If so, which of his vices should he give up? Strangling or living in Shreveport? Would society be better off if he just stuck to strangling? Try, as you watch, to call up an image of the others involved. The writers, the editors, the little people. None of them over 4 feet tall. Concentrate now, and when you've got it, the vision of all these rascals, you'll have the only picture more terrifying than the one you're about to see.
We proudly present a salute to the American worker, and to American industry, and to American bricks, and American hacksaws, and American sandpaper, and particularly that indefinable something called American ingenuity that somehow enables the American worker to keep from doing himself in. Here in this vast and complex industrial empire, you'll find dedicated men and women working together, building together in a common effort, where every man is encouraged to kick in ideas of his own. But all is not levity. High aloft the massive girders of steel, the barrel worker knows the foreman's word is law, because a foreman is never a wrong man. Down he shouts, down it comes. But all jackhammering and no play makes for walkouts on contract day. So American industry has learned that by giving its workers frequent breaks for relaxation, it enables the men to become better acquainted and to forget the cares of the world. But once again, in America, individual freedom proclaims that if any man decides to drop out of the game, he may do so at any time. And of paramount importance, the workers know that all labor disputes will be speedily and compassionately negotiated. Yes, working together, playing together, slugging it out to build a better world for tomorrow. And as that famous American industrialist Henry J. Schmeiser once wrote, give a man a hard day's work, a half day's pay, and a warm bath in a box full of wet cement. America, we salute you.
As you know, most of the material on fractured flickers comes from films which were originally made without dialogue or sound effects. As a result, we've developed a great interest in the art of pantomime, the ability to tell a story or convey an idea without the use of words. With us in our studio this evening is a lady who, in her illustrious stage career, has been able to capture and hold the rapt and undivided attention of audiences all over the world without speaking a single word. Ladies and gentlemen, the eminent authoress and entertainer, And the first lady to merit the term enthusiast instead of strip-teaser, Miss Gypsy Rose Lee.
Oh, thank you, Hans. So, now I'm an expert on pantomime.
Well, it's as good a reason as any to have you on our show.
It's the first time in my entire life that I've ever been compared with Charles Chaplin.
Well, I was thinking more of Harry Langdon.
Oh.
Actually, your pantomime plots may have been simpler and more direct than theirs, but they were certainly just as appealing and effective.
Oh, I think my music was better, too.
No, quite possible. Gypsy, your career has been the result of a long, tough climb to stardom. Can you tell us what it was that kept you going through the bad days?
Well, darling, there were several things. My mother, for one. You know, Mother just wouldn't admit there were any bad days. And then, of course, there was always that need to keep eating. But more than that, I'd say it was the audiences themselves. It was always very nice to know that, regardless of what was happening, the audience was with me.
Miss Lee, in many cases, your audience was way ahead of you. But in recent years, you've turned from treading the boards, or should I say the runway, to quieter pursuits, writing and lecturing. As a matter of fact, you've written 2 runaway bestsellers. The first book was a whodunnit, wasn't it?
The G-string murders.
Then, of course, there was your sensationally successful autobiography, Gypsy.
Yes.
But tell me, why did you decide to write books instead of performing?
Well, for one thing, Hans, there was less danger of catching cold. And most important, I think, was the work schedule. The work schedule is much easier writing. You might say I preferred the 1 a year to the 2 a day.
Though, as I remember, you did star in a one-woman show called A Curious Evening with Gypsy Rose Lee.
Oh, how nice of you to mention that, Hans.
Tell me this, what was it that was so curious about that evening?
Well, most people thought the most curious thing about the evening was the fact that the entire evening I was fully clothed.
That seems a shame sometimes. Miss Lee, in tonight's role as an expert on pantomime, have you any sage advice to offer young aspirants in the theater?
Yes, I have, Hans. I think that actors should always avoid the obvious. They should always leave a little something unrevealed. They should stick to the tradition of always keeping just a little mystery about their work.
That's very wise. And tell me, do you think that we, on Fractured Flickers, live up to that tradition? Is there something mysterious about our program?
Oh, I'm afraid not, Hans. It's quite obvious, darling, that you are all completely out of your mind.
Thank you. That's the nicest thing any guest has ever said about it. And good night, Miss Gypsy Rose Lee.
And good night to you, Hans. And thank you for the opportunity of spending a very curious evening with Hans Conried.
I remain fully clothed, too. You know, one of television's most offensive methods of building audience interest is to designate some well-populated city to be honored for an evening, thus actually blackmailing its citizens into watching a particular program. Now, this practice does produce lots more viewers, but in itself is a cheap bit of theatrical skullduggery. Our honor city this evening is San Francisco.
50 years ago, they said this city couldn't rise up from the ashes. Yet tonight, we salute San Francisco.
That wonderful, wonderful town.
Yes, San Francisco, where today, after half a century, Fire Chief Horton Bluger can proudly say,
We'll have it out in no time.
San Francisco, city of hills, which are a delight to pedestrian and motorist alike. Where for year after year, the ever-present seagull has captured the hearts of the young. In its hundreds of coffee houses, the city plays host to some of the finest young talents of our time. Its famous restaurants cater to the dining whims of the chic and the famous, including the open-fire cooking of such hostelries as Ernie's and the Blue Fox, whose chefs are as renowned for their shish kebab as for their arson convictions. But most exclusive of all is the world-famed University Club. Sedate, conservative, and proud of its 96 years of decorum. It's tradition that not once has there been a lapse from scrupulously proper behavior on the part of any member.
I told you we should have blackballed that Harry Bridges.
Yes, in fabulous San Francisco, one can climb to the top of the mark for a look at the city. Or ride to the Fairmont Tower in its unique outside elevator. No matter how you arrive, once you have gained a window seat, you and your companion will gaze awestruck at what is San Francisco's unique claim to fame.
Fog? Nothing but fog.
Will you get that cable car off Fisherman's Wharf?
Yes, Mr. Average, typical San Franciscan. When you rise each morning refreshed and eager, you may be justly proud of your town. Proud as you look out over the skyline to that famous bridge, which is the very symbol of your city's dignity, strength, beauty, and stability. We salute you, San Francisco. City by the Golden Gate.
That wonderful, wonderful town.
And now for another spine-tingling episode in our cliffhanging serial. Unfortunately, we don't know which episode it is, but no matter, they're all alike anyway. You might be interested to know that we accidentally ran our last episode backwards. None of you noticed a thing.
In our last episode, Tom, the fun-loving Clover boy, had just married his secretary. But at the wedding reception, his third wife had shown up and caused a scene.
Tom, I couldn't go through with a divorce.
Good heavens, Laura, what have you done to your hair?
Meanwhile, upstairs, Dick, the serious-minded Clover boy, was still trying to put up Venetian blinds in the bathroom.
Let's see. The wing nut slips through the tie knot, and Lupe folds under the hinge.
Meantime, what of the X-3.2, the experimental biplane designed by Harry Clover? Harry is the inventive Clover boy.
How's it going up there, Raj? Not so good, Harry. There's 2 other experimental planes up here, and one of them is, well, I think maybe he's from Lockheed.
Take her up to 2,000, Raj. For heaven's sake, Laura, must we dance? I told you, it's all over between us.
Oh, no, she wouldn't have an ordinary shower curtain. It has to be Venetian blinds.
It may be a little tough to get her up to 2,000, Harry.
How's that, Raj?
Well, for one thing...
Say, that Lockheed sure is a competitive outfit. Take her up, Raj.
Harry, you gotta do something.
Raj, I'm calling the Better Business Bureau right now. Laura, not in front of the children.
Oh, a child at 3 can install these, huh? Phooey, I'll bet Houdini couldn't do it.
Say, Harry, did the mechanic work on my landing gear?
Yes, he did, Raj. Why do you ask?
The plane feels a little bottom-heavy in the loops is all.
Yes, this is Tom and Laura's little son. Go on, Tommy. Show Granddad how you make a bee.
Granddad, it's madness.
No, a robot. Time to change his diapers, too. Anybody got a can opener?
Oh, the heck with it. He can run through the lawn sprinklers instead.
Harry, come in, Harry.
Now, don't you worry, Raj. I'll bring you in, fella. You're right on the glide path. That's it. Set her down gently. Okay, Raj, you made it.
Well, don't miss chapter 207 when the family hears a joke told by Tom, the fun-loving Clover boy.
Hey, I'm Tom, the fun-loving Clover boy.
Yeah, I'm Irving.
Well, the big clock on the wall. The big clock that was on the wall says it's time to go now.
Wait, dude.
that brings us to the end of another episode of Fractured Flickers, the greatest waste of TV time since the Bullwinkle show. Don't fail to miss next week's program when we'll present Cut It Short, Big Mouth, we're 30 seconds over. You remember, last week we announced that tonight we were going to give away a live Shetland pony to some lucky member of our audience. You remember that, don't you? Then you'd better see a doctor. We didn't say a thing about it. 1, 2.
One morning, half asleep, with all my blankets in a heap.